Hey everyone, welcome to the Amplify Digest. I'm your host, Lars Schmidt, and as always, this will be a roundup of some of the top news, trends, and stories in all things people. I want to kick things off this week with this story of HR making headlines again for not really the ideal reasons. This is a New York Times piece exploring some of the issues with the leave system and software that the HR team at Amazon uses and how that's resulted in underpaid employees who were terminated and a host of other issues based on the system and the tools that they were using. So again, if you want to learn more about how the role of systems and processes and also technology can hinder our efforts to kind of modernize the field, this piece will be a data point for that. This next story is one written by me. It was my latest Fast Company piece exploring what CEOs need to know about how their teams are feeling right now, their HR teams specifically. And it was based on a live podcast with David Hanrahan, Ciara Lakhani, Cindy Gordon, and Jevon Sue Lennox in a collaboration with People Tech Partners about the state of HR. And it reflected on data in a poll that we ran of chief people officers about their kind of mobility over the last 18 months. And probably not shocking to anybody, 47% of respondents are not in the same job that they were in January of 2020. So again, we all know what the job market is in HR and recruiting right now. And so this piece gets into some of the impact of the Great Resignation on the field of HR and recruiting and what CEOs can do to address that. This was speaking of the Great Resignation, another great piece by Forbes. This is actually a compilation of perspectives from their HR council around how organizations are being impacted by the Great Resignation and some things that they can do to try to offset that. So this piece is worth your time, as is this piece. And this was another Fast Company piece written by WorkHuman CEO about the impact of the Great Resignation on business and what leaders can do about it. And I want to flag one particular part of the article, which was a great presentation by him. He said, we're all being impacted by the Great Resignation. How do we want to respond to it? We can do nothing. Not a great response. We can join the arms race and blow up our salary and comp bands by trying to compete with some of the ways that companies are paying people right now. Also not a great long-term answer. Or we can really double down on building a great culture that both attracts and retains talent. That's probably a winning choice. So again, this piece, he also gets into some data, calculating turnover. So that piece is definitely worth your time. And the last article that I want to flag is actually a collaborative effort within our industry that was led by Jessica Miller-Merrill, Tracy Parsons, and Maury Hannigan, and hosted on Exacquio's site. As we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion and building representative organizations, it's also very important that we're not just looking at that internally, but in our partners, in the firms that we use. And so this is a compilation in recruiting and TA specifically of underrepresented, owned, and run firms that you may want to consider partnering with for your diversity needs. So I think it's very smart. I love the way that they came together, and I love the way that they're creating this open source resource. So if you are in HR, if you are in recruiting, if you're looking for vendors and resources, definitely visit this site. There's some great firms represented here. And if you are leading a underrepresented firm in the HR tech, specifically in kind of the TA employer branding space, let them know and get your company added to this list as well. That's a wrap for this week. We'll be back with more news and updates for the Amplify Digest next week. And until then, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you next week.